Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be doing the assignment. I'm going to do some of the evens on the ones that are more easy, and then on the harder ones I'm going to actually do the assignment that we have. So if we have the square root of 9, a to the 15th, b to the 3rd, the square root of 9 is just 3. If you were to break it down, you would get 2 3s. And then 2 goes into 15 7 times with 1 left over. And 2 goes into 3 1 time with 1 left over as well. Okay, so that is all you got for that one. If you had a number like number 4, actually let's do number 4. If you had to square root the 18, if you broke down the 18, if we break it down, we get 2 and 9 and then 3 and 3. We'd have a 3 on the outside and then a 2 left underneath. Now, I have not dealt with the a to the 6th, the b to the 3rd, or the c to the 5th power yet. But if we did, we would end up with a 3, a to the 3rd, b to the 1st, c squared, because we would be dividing them all by 2. And we'd have left over a 2, b to the 1st power and c to the 2nd power, because 2 goes into 6 3 times perfectly, 2 goes into 3 1 time, 1 left over, 2 goes into 5 2 times and 2 left over. Oh, 1 time and 1 left over. See, you need to do it step by step. I tried doing that all at once and it didn't work. So I highly recommend you do it step by step, because it's a little harder if you try and do it all at once. So 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 3 1 time, 1 left over. 2 goes into 5 1 time, 2 left over. All right? Now, if you have a fraction like you do on number 9, for instance, you would have to simplify that fraction first if you can, because why in the world would you want to deal with 3,072 and 243? So you can simplify that. If you simplify that, the 3,072 over 243, you get a more sensible 1,024 over 81. Now that may or may not be helpful, but it is worth a shot. So if we have that, we would have 1,024, h to the 8th, and then 81, f to the 5th. And both of these are the 5th root. 5th root. Okay? If you break down the 81, you would have a lot to break down. We'd have a 2 and, not a 2, a 3 and a 27, a 3 and a 9, and a 3 and a 3, which has 1, 2, 3, 4 3s. And we need 5 of them in order to get rid of this radical. So we need to multiply by 1 more 3, which makes me a little upset. Because if I multiply by 1 more 3, I actually realized something here. That this problem was way more easy in the beginning. And I led you astray. If we multiply by 1 more 3 and 1 more 3, I'll tell you why in a second. Then we get right back where we started. So that whole simplifying thing actually backfired big time on us, because apparently the 5th root of 243 is just 3. I'm going to write it down here because I'm out of room. The 5th root of 243 is just 3, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5 3s, and we get 3. And if we multiply the 3 times that 1,023, you're going to get the 5th root of 3,072 again. H to the 8 I haven't dealt with. I will be doing the 5th root of f to the 5th power, which is f to the 1st. So, can the 3,072 break down? Well, I imagine 3,072 can do something. 3,072 divides by 3, and you get 1,024, which divides a lot. You get 512. And if you divide 512 by 8, you get 64. And divide by 8, you get 8. You don't have to break it down completely if you realize there are bigger numbers that you're going to get 3 of a kind for. So the simplification of this, oh, we're not looking for 3 of a kind, we're looking for 5 of a kind. We got to keep going. 2, 4, 2, 2, 2 and 4, 2 and 2, 2 and 4, and 2 and 2. There are a lot of 2s. This is a mess. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2s. I'm going to circle them right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2s. I'm going to circle those as well. Notice how I had 5 2s and then 5 2s again. That is going to multiply and be on the outside and become 4. 5th root of the single 3 left over. 5 goes into 8. 1 time. 3 left over. 3f to the first power. I made that one so much harder than it needed to be. Apologies in advance and afterwards. It could have been much easier. All right. For adding and subtracting, as a bonus, I'm going to do the odd one. For adding and subtracting, you need them to be the same. If they are not the same, you need to make them the same, hopefully by simplifying. If you simplify 45, I'm doing number 13, you get 3 and 15, and then 3 and 5. So that would be the 8 square root of 5 minus 3 square root of 5. And if you break down the 80, you'd get 2 and 40, and 2 and 20, 2 and 10, 2 and 5. So this would be 2 and 2 on the outside, making minus 4 square root of single 5 left over. 8 minus 4 minus 3 ends up being, as our final answer, 8 minus 4 minus 3, 1 square root of 5. 1 square root of 5. If you have to multiply the two things together, like we have here, 3 times 8 makes 24. Square root of 5 times 10 is 50. Y squared z, because you have to add your y's. Well, what is the square root of 50? I don't know, but I do know that it breaks down into a 2 and a 25 and a 5 and a 5. So this 5 is going to go on the outside, multiplying with 24. 24 times 5 is 120. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 does not go into that z to the first. So 120y to the first. This 2 left over. The z left over. All right. Next page. And I am also going to resort to scrap paper. I'm realizing that this would be a lot easier if I would have just used some separate pieces of paper. For these problems right here, you just have to FOIL, which sounds like it's going to be awful, but it's actually not that bad. We do the 7 square root of 2 times both, which is 7 times 4 makes 28, square root of 12. And 7 times 3 makes 21, square root of 24. This times both would be the negative 3 square root of, both of those would be negative 3 times 4 is negative 12, square root of 3 times 6, 18. You multiply the insides with the insides and the outsides with the outsides. Negative 3 times 3 makes negative 9, square root of 36. Anything that is a like term will combine. There are currently no like terms, but there are some things we can simplify. The 28 square root of 12, I'm going to do the 12 and break it down right here. 2 and 6, 2 and 3, is going to turn into 56 because the 2 is going to go on the outside, square root of 3. The 24 is 2 and 12, 2 and 6, and then 2 and 3. Would turn into 2 on the outside multiplied with the 21 would be 42 square root of 6. 2 times 3 to get the 6 on the inside. The 18 would break down to 2 and 9 and 3 and 3, which the 3 is going to go on the outside with the 12 to make negative 36 square root of 2. And the square root of 36 is just 6 because 6 and 6 pair up. So 6 times 9 is 54. So we got minus 54. Are there any like terms? And the answer to that is, sadly, no. So this is as far as we can go. I thought we'd have a like term. There are 6s and 2s and 3s and all sorts of other stuff, but that is as far as we can go for that one problem. All right. Simplifying with these right here. If you have a problem like this and you have the square root of b to the 13th power, do not simplify the bottom first. Okay? Do not simplify the bottom first. You need to think, can it divide evenly by the 2? And if the answer is yes, then you're good to go. But if the answer is no, then you need to think, how many more b's do I need in order for them to divide by 2? If I have a 13, I need it to be a 14, and then it would be dividing by 2. So I need to actually multiply by the square root of b to the first and the square root of b to the first. If I do that, I would end up with the square root of 5a to the 5th b, and then the square root of b to the 14th. But b to the 14th is really just b to the 7th power when you take 2 going into 14 7 times, none left over. You need there to be none left over. 5a to the 5th, b to the 1st. Done with that one. Okay? Now, these harder problems at the bottom, they're not actually, I think these are easier because they don't actually require you to think as much. If we have this one, I'm going to do 34, where we have 5 minus the square root of 3. We have to multiply by the change the sign in the middle, change the sign in the middle. So distribute the square root of 2 on the top of the fraction makes 5 square roots of 2, and then plus the square root of 6. The bottom of the fraction, we will have to FOIL this out. Oh no, I forgot my square root. Oh no. I apologize. Square root of 2 times square root of 5 is square root of 10. Apparently, I am tired today. All right. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is going to end up being 5, because the square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 5 times the square root of 3 is plus square root of 15. So we've multiplied the square root of 5 times both. Now we have the square root of 3 times both terms. So we did the square root of 5 times both. Now the square root of 3 times both. Square root of 3 times 5 is a negative square root of 15 because it's a negative square root of 3. Negative square root of 3 times square root of 3 ends up being a negative 3 because you end up with a negative and then the square root of 9. If you've done it correctly, the 15s will cancel out, leaving us with our final answer as square root of 10 plus the square root of 6 over 2. Doop-de-doo-doo. It is done on that one. All right. Probably going to do one more. Let's see, which one should we do? I guess number 41. 41 is the same type of question, but with an x. So here we would have to multiply by the square root of x plus 1 and the square root of x plus 1 to get rid of that square root on the bottom of the fraction. The top and the bottom will have to FOIL, so I'm going to have to write really small. X times square root of x is x squared of x. X times 1 is 1x. Then we have 1 times the square root of x is square root of x, 1 square root of x specifically. That's an x. And then 1 times 1 is 1. That is the top FOILed out. Square root of x times square root of x, we got to do the square root of x times both. Square root of x times square root of x is x, because square root of x squared is x. Square root of x times 1 is 1 square root of x. Then the negative 1 times both. So negative 1 times the square root of x is negative 1 square root of x. And negative 1 times negative 1, negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Excuse me. Middle part cancels out on the bottom every time. Almost out of room. Going up here. The bottom of the fraction is going to be x minus 1. The top of the fraction is going to be ridiculous. We're going to have x squared of x plus 1x plus the square root of x plus 1. That whole ugly mess is the true top of the fraction, and the bottom of the fraction is just going to be x minus 1. That's going to do it for this one. Till next time, stay positive, everybody. We're going to get through this lesson. It's just going to take a while, and there's like each little thing requires like nuances and different type of things. I will see y'all later. Bye.